everyone, it has been a while since I made a video, but I've been super busy lately studying for my certification exam. That's coming up in the next few days, and once I get past that, I can get back to making videos regularly. And I have been working on my Starcade videos. That's a project I've been working on for the last couple weeks now, and I had to watch all the Starcade events to prepare for that. So that's all done, and I'm currently in the process of making my top 10 favorite Starcade matches and my top 5 worst Starcade matches. That'll all be one video. You'll probably be seeing that within the next few days. My original intent was for that video to be my next video, but something happened last night that I feel demands my attention. So I'm taking a break from work, taking a break from studying, all that other stuff, and we got to talk about what happened last night with the latest edition of AEW Dynamite. I feel it's worthy of discussion and worthy of my attention for sure, and worthy of everybody's attention, to be perfectly honest. Other things going on: Weekday Warriors of Wrestling. Eric and I have taken a break for a few weeks again for some of the reasons that I just discussed. Mainly, his life is crazy and my life is crazy, especially with studying for this exam. So once we're both on the same page, we'll probably get back to making videos sometime next week. That's the current goal. Once I'm through the exam, then we can start getting back to some level of normalcy. And is there anything else I wanted to talk about? No, I don't think so. I think that's... one more thing. My end of the year, I want to do one more live stream. I put a poll up on my Twitter. The link is in the description. On my Twitter, I have a poll to do another live stream watch-along, and you get to pick which one I watch. It's going to be a classic December pay-per-view. The 4 options are Tuesday in Texas from 91, In Your House December 96, It's Time, In Your House December 97, D-Generation X, which is a show I have never watched, which is interesting to me. I've never actually watched that pay-per-view. And it kind of got sandwiched. It got lost in the shuffle of so many things, like the hubbub coming out of Survivor Series 97, the lead into Starcade 97, and Mike Tyson's arrival into the WWE happening around the Royal Rumble and getting ready for WrestleMania and everything. That particular pay-per-view just kind of got lost in the shuffle of all the other amazing things that were going on. So I never actually saw that pay-per-view, so that might be an interesting one to watch. And the other option is December 98 In Your House, Rock Bottom. So you got your choice between Tuesday in Texas or one of the 3 In Your Houses during the 90s that happened in December of their respective years. I wanted to do kind of an offbeat one rather than do a show that everybody's heard of and everybody's watched, because Tuesday in Texas, I have not rewatched the show since I first saw it way back when I was 6 years old. The only thing I really remember about it is the Hogan-Taker rematch and all the fallout of that. I have rewatched that match in recent years, but I haven't actually watched the whole show. And actually, when the show was released on VHS, it was actually released as Super Tape 92, not as Tuesday in Texas. It was released as Super Tape. And they added like a special profile on The Undertaker with some like bonus matches and a few other things that were thrown in there. So it wasn't just the pay-per-view. There was additional stuff thrown onto it, which that was interesting. So maybe when I do the watch along for Tuesday or if I do the watch along for Tuesday in Texas and that wins the poll, maybe I'll do Super Tape. And December 96, It's Time, I think would be a hilarious one to do, because it's the main event is Bret Hart and Sid, which is such an oddball match where it's like, yeah, that match actually happened, believe it or not. And that's also the one with the Undertaker versus the Executioner in the Armageddon match, that match that nobody remembers. I think it would be super funny to watch that one. So that one would be interesting as like an oddball show that everybody's kind of forgotten about. And like I said, D-Generation X, 1997. I've never watched that show. I know it was headlined by Shawn versus Ken Shamrock for the title, which is interesting because Shamrock didn't get a lot of title shots, surprisingly. So that would probably be an interesting one to watch. And then Rock Bottom 98. The only thing I remember about that show was not liking it all that much, even back then, because I remember the Buried Alive match not being very good. I remember Rockin' Mankind, I didn't like the finish. The finish was a little screwy. Deborah had to strip. That was a thing. I remember that. So of the 4 pay-per-views, I think Rock Bottom is the one I remember the most. So maybe that speaks to something about the show that I'm not completely aware of. But anyway, yeah, so go on my Twitter and you get to pick which show I do my end of the year live stream for and watch along. So that'll be fun. And we'll be doing that. So before I jump into AEW, which is going to take up the bulk of this video, I do want to pay my respects to wrestling legend Pat Patterson, the creator of the Royal Rumble, the first ever Intercontinental Champion, and one of the great creative minds in the history of the WWE. Passed away yesterday, and it was really cool to see the video package that they aired for him on NXT, and also the little tribute that Jon Moxley did for him. Pat Patterson's just one of those guys, like, you can't imagine the WWF without him. If you're familiar with the behind the scenes stuff and his contributions behind the scenes, it's like you almost can't picture the WWF without him, because he was in a lot of ways, he was a creative genius. Especially, I mean, he's known as like one of the best finish guys in the history of the business, and always was coming up with great finishes. Actually, I remember when I had a WrestleMania party for 31, and they did that Seth Rollins Randy Orton match where Rollins was going for the stomp, popped up in the air, and then Orton popped right back up and caught him on the way down with the RKO. One of my friends turned to me and was like, "That was a Pat finish. I guarantee that was Pat Patterson's idea. I guarantee it." And it probably was. We'll never know. But that tells you the type of influence that Pat had over the WWF, where you see a really cool finish, or you see like something that makes sense and has more of an old school sensibility to it. Pat probably had a hand in it, especially in the olden days. And, you know, we all call Vince a creative genius. In many ways he is. He's a marketing genius and a promoting genius for sure. But I think a lot of Pat's contributions are in the little nuances and the little details that a lot of people miss. And I think in the modern era, you've kind of missed those kind of small touches that make everything matter more. And I think Pat added a lot to especially in the early days, the rock and wrestling era. I think Pat added a lot to that product that, and like I said, he also created the Royal Rumble, which is one of the greatest attractions in the WWE, and that's definitely worthy of credit. So I wanted to pay my respects to Pat Patterson, a wrestling legend who passed away at the age of 79, and he will be missed for sure, and he will get all the love and respect that he deserves based on his contributions to the WWE as a whole. So with all that said, it is time to talk about AEW. NXT, I'm going to do a preview for War Games because that's happening this weekend. I'm going to do a preview for War Games at the end. Although after last night's Dynamite, it's kind of like, what's NXT? I don't know what NXT is. What is that? What is this NXT you speak of? Because I got to tell you, after last night's show, Winter is Coming, AEW over-delivered in something big that got a lot of us talking. Two things in particular that happened, and I'm not going to go through the entire show, but the two big things that happened that got everybody talking and got all us wrestling nerds just kind of losing our minds. Number one, as Team Taz was beating down Cody and Darby and Dustin Rhodes, the lights go out, the video starts playing, and when they showed the snowy landscape and all the snow was on the stage, but immediately in my mind I was like, oh, so Glacier's coming out? There's a lot of pomp and circumstance for a guy who was essentially the Tatanka of WCW. And what I mean by that, I don't mean to put Glacier down, but Tatanka and Glacier were two like mid-card acts that I think got a lot of promotion, and they, you know, WWF and WCW with those respective characters, they wanted them to get over big and make main eventers out of them. And for whatever reason, it just didn't happen and they didn't click. But I didn't dislike them. It's a weird case. It's like, were they main event worthy? Probably not, but I kind of liked them. I mean, I liked Tatanka. I liked Glacier. But when I saw the snowy landscape and everything, I thought, is Glacier coming out? Is that what's going on? And then the name showed up on the screen. Sting. And I was like, no way. No fucking way this is happening. And people had been speculating that Sting was going to AEW, but I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. And Sting's retired anyway. Like, he's not going back. But lo and behold, he was there, and the stinger, with Tony Schiavone calling it, "It's Sting!" on TNT, was an amazing thing to see. And it was one of those, like, my brain stopped working and my heart took over, and I legitimately had tears coming down my face while that was happening, because I never thought I would ever see Sting on a wrestling program on the TNT station ever again. And to see that, it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And the look was great. The effects for the entrance and the snow and everything looked great. They put the crow in the video, which I believe was the clue, even though they were going for like kind of a Game of Thrones theme for the whole show. I mean, when you name your show Winter is Coming, you know what you're referencing. But the crow in the video, that was kind of like, I saw some reaction videos, and when people saw the crow, they were like, wait a minute. Like, wait a minute. And sure enough, there's the stinger. And he had stare down, and actually the beatdown that happened in the ring just stopped because everybody saw Sting, and the heel saw Sting and just got the hell out of Dodge. And Sting was in full face paint, full gear, had the baseball bat, looks a little older, obviously. He's 61 years old, but he still looked like Sting. The face paint helps hide a lot of that. And he had stare downs with Arn Anderson, with Dustin Rhodes, with Cody Rhodes, and of course with Darby Allin, which that made for a great visual given Darby Allin's whole presentation and gimmick and everything. So right off the bat, I'm immediately intrigued in seeing what they do with Sting. Now, we're not getting the Sting of old. He's not going to be wrestling on TV every week. He's not going to fight for the world title or anything like that. And he shouldn't, to be honest. But I'm intrigued to see what they do with him. They've signed him for a multi-year deal, which is going to bring them, I'm sure he's going to sell a lot of merch. And if he can bring more eyeballs to AEW, I think that's a good thing, obviously. I'll be very curious to see what the numbers are next week. That's going to be an interesting one, just to see how much of a bump Sting gets AEW. But it's it was a hell of a moment, and I think having JR and Tony calling it helped, because both of them are obviously very familiar with Sting through various points of his career. Tony is the voice that we kind of associate with calling big Sting moments, and so the whole thing just felt right. It just felt right, and it felt like a big moment. And caught us all off guard because it didn't leak earlier that day that he was going to be there. They didn't really hype up that there was going to be a major debut or like a big star was coming over or anything like that. Sting just showed up and got us all to shit our pants, basically. Kind of like what he did at Survivor Series a few years ago for the WWF. Like, I don't remember it leaking that Sting was going to be there, and that was a big surprise. Unfortunately, in WWE's case, they had him lose his big matches, mainly the one at WrestleMania to Triple H, which was a fiasco and a half. But now we've got Sting back on another wrestling program, back on TNT, and I'm interested to see what they do with him. He's going to take a mentor role. Is he going to work tag matches? How's he going to get involved in big storylines? I don't know, but it hooked me. I'm intrigued. I want to see what they do with Sting, and it's like, all right, I'm on board. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's see how this all turns out. And I'm as you can tell, I've got his autograph framed and hanged right there on my wall. Sting is one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. So anytime he shows up, I mark out. That's just, it's a rule. Like, Sting he's one of my guys. And it was a truly happy moment for me. And it's, I've said a couple of times, there were some moments like, man, I wish there was a camera on me when that moment happened, so you all could have seen my reaction. This was a case of like, I'm glad there wasn't a camera on me, because I would have cried on a fucking live stream, and it's like, we don't need footage of me crying to be posted on the internet or anything. But it was a hell of a moment, caught me off guard, and I was like, immediately my brain started rushing. It's like, you're looking at this, even the situation he was involved in, it's like, all right, you got Taz putting Cody in the Taz mission the week before. He's got his group of guys with Will Hobbs and Cage and Ricky Starks. And you've got Cody, and he's teaming up with Darby, and Dustin got involved in this at the end. And now you've got Sting. It's like, you've got a nice little 4-on-4 there. You can do a tag match, maybe a War Games match. Who knows? They can do that match Beyond that they wanted to do earlier this year. Because the Elite versus the Inner Circle, that's been pretty much, like, you can't go back to that now. That's pretty much been, the Elite's basically dead at this point, and their problems with the Inner Circle are basically, they've all moved on to different things, so it wouldn't make any sense to go back to that. But if this is a setup for that, I'm like, okay. And yeah, it's Taz and it's Sting, 2 old guys, but it's like, you don't expect them to do much, but, kind of do their basic stuff. And I think having Sting around, his presence elevates everything around him anyway. So, it'll be interesting to see where it all goes. I'm intrigued to say the least. All I ask is that Sting be careful, because I remember how his last match went, and that was kind of scary. So, let's not do anything too stupid or too dangerous. For right now, a lot of us are just happy to see Sting, and he doesn't need to push himself yet too much harder than that, I think. Just keep it simple. Don't be crazy. Just let us enjoy Sting, and that'll be enough, I think. And, Cody, I think, gets to live Cody and Darby look like they get to live a childhood dream that they got to share screen time with Sting on a wrestling program. So it was an amazing moment. It was absolutely an amazing moment. And I loved just about every second of it. And then the other thing that happened was the main event, which was a very good match. It was Omega and Moxley for the title. And Don Callis, who had done a special appearance with AEW before to call Kenny Omega matches, I believe he was at the last pay-per-view during Omega's tournament finals match with Hangman. But it's not uncommon or unexpected. Oops, sorry. It's my phone going off. But it's not unexpected to see Don Callis there for a Kenny Omega match, even though he works with Impact Wrestling. We never really thought about it. So, it's his relationship with Kenny, and Kenny can get him on board, and that's all there is to it. There isn't anything beyond that. But sure enough, Don Callis goes out there at the end of the match, uses a microphone, sneaks it over to Kenny, who uses it to defeat Jon Moxley and win the AEW World Championship. I'm like, oh shit, Kenny's turned heel, and oh shit. I mean, he was basically a heel already, but this is like the confirmation that he's a heel. And oh shit, Don Callis helped him win it. Where is this going? And then they run out like thieves in the night, and the interviewer is trying to get a word with them. It's like, will you tell us what happened? And then Don Callis says something to the effect of, you want to know what's going on? Tune in on Tuesday. Wait, Dynamite's on Wednesday. It's like, no. Tune into Impact Wrestling on Access TV. And I was like, what? Are we doing an actual interpromotional war? Is that what's going on here? And immediately once that happened, my imagination just skyrocketed of like, oh my God, all the things they can do. Because we're actually going to get and granted, yes, I know it's Impact Wrestling and they're not nearly as sexy or as cool as they used to be. I understand that, but holy shit, we're getting an actual interpromotional war. And you think of some of the talents that are over there in Impact, like Moose, Willie Mack, who I really like. Their tag teams, they've got the Motor City Machine Guns, they've got Anderson and Gallows, they've got a team that I called my favorite tag team in North America that's not in WWE or AEW, The North. I think they're fantastic. So I'd love to see those guys get involved. And they've got their women's division. I mean, you've got Jordan Grace, you've got Taya Valkyrie, you've got Rosemary, you've got a good number of female talents that could really help that women's division, And actually, then I started thinking, it's like, oh my God, wait a minute. You've got the NWA women's title that's been featured on AEW. What if NWA gets involved with this and we start seeing Nick Aldis show up on AEW, or we start seeing Cody Rhodes show up on the new NWA show that just started up? What if we see Camille start challenging the women on AEW or Impact? I'm like, oh my God, this could turn into a thing. And then somebody I was talking to was like, dude, what if Kota Ibushi shows up and reforms the Golden Lovers? And then Okada shows up and teams up with Moxley. And you get Okada and Moxley versus the Golden Lovers. And I was like, dude, this is too much. It's too much awesome. It's way too much awesome. I can't deal with it. So a lot of this at this point is just pure speculation and us just kind of letting our imaginations just go completely wild and crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know how big this is. For all I know, what we see on Tuesday, and yes, I am absolutely watching Impact Wrestling on Tuesday. That's a sentence I didn't expect to say in 2020. I haven't watched an episode of Impact in months. And a lot of other people haven't watched Impact Wrestling in years. But I want to see what Kenny Omega says, and I want to see how far this goes. Because if this turns into he's running to the other company and telling AEW to stick it, and it's like, oh shit. And we get a legitimate interpromotional war to keep it interesting. I'm like, it opens the doors for some very interesting possibilities and some good creative. And it's got me hooked, to say the least. It's absolutely got me hooked. It's the most interested I've been in Impact Wrestling in a long time, since before they left Spike TV, to be perfectly honest. And I'm like, man, I'm legitimately intrigued. And when you're thinking invasion angles, I think the one that everybody thinks of is the WCW ECW invasion, which was botched from the word go. And of course, it was all WWE anyway, since they purchased WCW earlier that year. So it really was just WWE in-house fighting. It wasn't really like the interpromotional war that we all kind of envisioned in our heads. And none of the major names got involved. And granted, Impact, ideally, like, you would want like the sexy version of Impact that had like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, Chris Daniels, those type of guys. Well, Chris Daniels is in AEW, so who knows? And Kazarian's in AEW, and Sting's in AEW now. What if he's like a traitor? That's gonna start working for Impact Wrestling. I don't know. Who knows? And I don't know if NWA is gonna get involved. I don't know how far this is gonna go. For all we know, that what we see on Tuesday night could be a one and done. It's just an appearance by Omega to help boost Impact a little bit, generate a little intrigue, and then it's back to business as usual for everybody involved. I don't know. I legitimately don't know how far this is going or where they're going with this. All I'll say is that for right now, I am definitely hooked, and I am intrigued. I did not expect to see this on last night's show. I expected Omega to win, and probably win through cheating of some kind, but I had no idea it was going to snowball into something much bigger, where it's like, wait, we're getting other companies involved? What is this? And again, my imagination is just running wild when I say things like, what if NWA gets involved? What if ROH gets involved? What if New Japan gets involved? And these are all like crazy, almost impossible ideas. But maybe it's an attempt at doing like that supercard thing that was tried in the 80s that didn't really work. I think it was AWA, World Class, and one other show. I forget what it was, but maybe it's an attempt to do something like that. Maybe we'll start seeing like Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara in the X division and having Ultimate X matches on AEW that actually have build up and story behind it, and aren't just randomly thrown out there to do a gimmick. Maybe we'll start seeing, the tag division, there's so many possibilities, it's ridiculous. When you look at the teams that both companies have, and the women's, we've already got 2 women's titles from different companies working on that show, so maybe we'll have the knockouts involved too, and it's like, oh shit's about to get crazy. But again, I'm just speculating at this point. I have absolutely no idea where this is going, but I am excited and I am intrigued, and you would have had to pick up my jaw off the floor after watching that episode, because it was like, you want to talk about catching me off guard with a surprise Sting debut and a potential interpromotional war. It looks really interesting. It looks very, very interesting, and I am definitely intrigued. And again, after last night's show, I was kind of like, oh yeah, there's a takeover this weekend. Oh yeah, NXT. I've completely forgot about that. It's like, I completely forgot. And I have not watched last night's NXT either, but, I would imagine that's another thing to look forward to in the ratings this week, where it's like, God, what if like word got out that Sting showed up on AEW, and all of a sudden, like, you see like, 300,000 people switched over from NXT to AEW, because it's, it caught a lot of us off guard. So it's really interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what kind of impact, pun intended, this has moving forward for all players involved. It's very, very interesting. And very exciting show. AEW, I felt like I said, they over-delivered on the surprises. I did not expect the type of stuff that they did on last night's show, but I'm on board for whatever it is they're doing, and I am intrigued, and I'm going to be tuning into Impact Wrestling on Tuesday, because I want to see the follow-up to this, because this has potential to be crazy. And again, it could be just something as simple as Kenny Omega doing a pre-tape. I don't know, but if it turns into something bigger than that, holy shit. Like, just holy shit. Interpromotional war was not something I expected out of wrestling in 2020. But we'll see how it all plays out. So, since I mentioned NXT, let me go over the card for NXT TakeOver War Games, give my thoughts on the show. This is a show that actually is giving us a War Game. 2 War Games matches. I don't think we need to. I've said that before about many gimmicky pay-per-views. It's like, do you really need 2? Do you really need more than 1 of the same gimmick? I really don't think you do. I think you could shorten that a little bit, and we'd all be okay. But yeah, we've got the 2 War Games matches and 3 other matches put on there as well. Creatively, NXT has not been that interesting lately. Not for me anyway. It's just kind of like, they always give a strong effort in the ring. That's kind of always been their selling point. But they also used to be really good at making you care about those really good, great athletic matches. And lately, that hasn't been their strong suit. It just feels like I'm watching an indie show, quite honestly, a lot of the time, where it's just like, all right, it's guys that are trying to prove themselves by doing these amazing things in the ring, but they're not doing a good job of selling me on the stories and the matches that they're trying to build most of the time. It just kind of feels, it's not that it's terrible, it's just flat. It's just kind of like, that it's a show where I watch it and you go, that happened. The show, with few exceptions of guys that stand out, but. Going over this card, we've got Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Champa. That could be a cool match. I'll pick Thatcher to go over, just because it seems like they want to invest in him a little bit, and Champa always seems willing to, like, help elevate people. Then we have a strap match, Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes. I wonder if this will be, like, a strap match with pinfalls or one where they have to drag him around the corner. I don't think, if they've said which type of strap match it's going to be. I don't know. I must have missed it. I didn't hear it, but we've got that, and then we've got a triple threat for the North American Championship. Johnny Gargano, who I still don't like as a heel. Damian Priest, who I like quite a bit. He's actually much better in NXT than he was in the Indies. And champion Leon Ruff, who I think is a boring blank slate, and I cannot believe they put a belt on him. It's like, really? This guy's holding the belt? Really? This guy? Okay, I feel like there are other options, but, you know, I'm sure it'll be a fine athletic match. I just don't care about most of the people involved in this. It's just creatively, I'm just not that intrigued by it, but, yeah. Yep. This is, that's your undercard. It's not very interesting, unfortunately. It's just kind of like, this is one of those cases, and again, the takeovers are typically very good and very consistent. This looks like a rare case for an NXT takeover where it's like the wrestlers are going to have to overcome the fact that the show's not that interesting and the stories aren't that interesting, and they've got to put in like 150% effort to kind of make up for the fact that creative's not very strong, which is not normally a position NXT is in. Normally, for takeovers, they're like, you're chomping at the bits waiting to see these things, and you look at these undercard matches, and I'm like, And the War Games matches, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't like it when things are over-gimmicked. I don't like it when they repeat the gimmick multiple times on the same show. I feel like it cheapens the gimmick. It makes it look like you don't have any ideas. It makes it look like you're doing it just to trick people into watching the show. And it's very transparent, kind of lazy, creatively lazy. And then the guys and gals have to go out there and practically kill themselves to make it work. So it's harder on them, but it's easier on creative because it's like, we gave them a War Games match. Our job is done. And that's it. And I didn't like it last year when they did 2 War Games matches, and I'm not a huge fan of it this year. You can do just one. It's fine. And I feel the same way about the Royal Rumble. I feel the same way about, Hell in a Cell, and TLC is probably the worst, where it's like they've got to have like 17 different kind of gimmick matches on one card. It's like, whatever. But if you're going to do an all-women's War Games or you're going to do an all-women's Royal Rumble, just do it. Like, why do we need to have more than one? Just do it. To have them switch off year after year. The women do it one year, then the men do it the next year. I don't care. However you got to do it. Whatever prevents me from having to sit through the same type of match twice on one card, I'm all for it. Just do that, and we'll be okay. But anyway, the women's War Games match is Team Shotzi Blackheart with Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai taking on Team Candice LeRae, with Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm. Some of these are... Again, most of these ladies are talented, so it's not like... I'm sure they're going to do the best they can to make this work. It just feels like something that was kind of thrown together, like Toni Storm just turned heel, just to have a fourth heel on the other side, and it's not very, it just... Shotzi and Candice LeRae, like, that's your main women's feud, really? I'm like, whatever. Don't really care all that much. It's just kind of, again, it just feels like they're throwing bodies out there for the sake of throwing bodies out there. And again, I'm sure the match will be fine. I'm sure EO will do something crazy. But it's also like, creatively, there's not a whole lot of juice behind this thing. So the ladies are going to have to go out there and practically kill themselves to make up for the fact that creative gave them almost nothing. And then you look at the men's match, which at least has like the history of like Pat McAfee's issues with Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era. So at least there's like a basis for it, with Pat McAfee now trying to get revenge on the Undisputed Era. So he's put together his own team. And Pat McAfee might be the best mic worker in NXT, which I'll let that speak for itself. But he's actually quite good. And the Undisputed Era, they become like the new age Four Horsemen, where they're kind of like the kings of War Games as an annual event for NXT. And Undisputed Era team, obviously you've got Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. And on Pat McAfee's team, you've got McAfee, Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and One Lorcan, all the rough British guys, basically. So I think that will probably be the better of the two War Games matches. If I had to take a guess, that's the one I'm more interested in. It's probably the most interesting match on the card. Unfortunately, I also think it'll be the main event. And you'll have to follow a War Games match that came earlier in the show. And I don't like it when Hell in a Cell does it. I don't like it when Royal Rumble does it. I don't like it when Elimination Chamber does it. It's like, dude, can you just do one? Money in the Bank is another one. It's like, must you like pile on the gimmick matches to such an insane degree? Is it really necessary to do that? So it sounds like I'm really crapping on this NXT card. I think it'll be fine. I think the guys and gals will go out there and put forth 110% effort to prevent this show from being bad. Just the lead into the show and creative just isn't very strong. And after last night, like, again, I almost forgot that NXT existed after watching last night's AEW Dynamite. So that's where a lot of like my excitement is going to. I'm already looking past War Games. I can't wait for Tuesday night because I want to see what Omega says on the show. That's the thing. I'm like, dude, I just got to wait for that and we'll be golden. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's the video here. Just wanted to come on here and basically geek out for Sting and bring forth like where my mind was going when I heard about Omega appearing on Impact Wrestling and what that could potentially mean, depending on how deep this working relationship between the two companies goes. I think it's very exciting. I think it's very interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how it all plays out and where it all goes. So that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and vote in that poll that I talked about earlier. The link is in the description. And be sure to like, subscribe, post your comments down below, and interact with these videos and with myself in any way you can. I enjoy interacting and talking to people. I no longer monetize my videos because fuck YouTube. I already went on that rant, so they can just they can just suck it. But so if you see ads on this video, just know I didn't put them there. That would have been a YouTube decision. But in any case, that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I will see you later.